Hey, welcome to Data Science Labs. In this video, we're going to show you the very first kind of basic step when it comes to working on, programming projects in data science, and that's setting up a virtual environment in Visual Studio Code. Before we get started, though, just a reminder that if you want to see more content like this, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. So, we're going to go ahead and launch that. If you don't have Microsoft Visual Studio Code installed on your PC, go ahead and do that first. Pause the video and then come back. If you already have VS Code installed, then all you need to do is go ahead and open up your application. So I'm going to open up on the Windows key, and I'm just going to type in, VS Code, and then start up the app. You'll see, if you are running it for the first time, you'll get something like this page that appears, where it's just kind of a blank slate. You'll see options for starting with a new file, opening a file or folder, creating or cloning a Git repo, and connecting to that, or some other options like generating the workspace. There will also be a couple options for walking through tutorials and walkthroughs if it's your first time. If you have already built a couple different files, scripts and software in VS Code, then it's going to remember the last one that you were working on. So it actually would open up with that script selected. But for me, I'm going to go ahead on this welcome page. And what we want to do first for getting our virtual environment set up for our data science projects is we're going to go ahead and select the folder that we want to have our virtual environment in. Now, the reason that we have virtual environments is to really containerize our projects. So it's really important as you're going through different work and different opportunities. It's important to make everything reproducible. And what's essential for reproducibility is that we've got the raw data that everything was built off of, and then also that we've got the versions of packages that you're working off of. It also makes it a lot easier when someone is joining a project and able to contribute alongside you, or if you get dumped onto a new project that someone else was working on. Different versions conflict oftentimes. Sometimes they're totally incompatible, and it's not always clear, which version you might need or want to use. This can be particularly important when you start talking about using deployed models. So if you take something from scikit-learn that's been stored as a pickle file or some other format, and you unload it, you might be using it with the implicit, pandas version or scikit-learn version that it has, but you have on your system a slightly different version, and those conflicts can actually cause differences in results, which can have problematic failure points. So that's kind of a blurb on why we want to work with virtual environments in general. It's just clean and it makes everything easy to use. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to open the folder that I've set up for this. So I'm going to go to my Data Science Labs folder. We're under Basics, right? This is just one of those starting things. I'm going to go ahead and select the folder. This is the area that I would be coding in. So once I've got this set up, again, you'll see that similar blank canvas where I can add some new files, set something to the terminal, and so forth. The first thing that we're going to need to do is specify the Python version. Now, if you don't have Python installed, there's a couple ways you can do that, right? So you can either go to your list of extensions, and you can search on the marketplace for stuff like Python. And I can go and add the different Python versions that I want to have, whether that's Python 3.12 or 3.9, etc. This is also great. It will give you some of the options for debuggers and other aspects that you want to have, like PyDev or Python Black. Or you can go through the Windows Store, right? If you have on the Windows Store, there'll be specific Python versions you can install, or you can go to python.org and download the specific version that you want. I'm going to assume that you've already got Python installed on your machine, or that you know how to get there. And for this video, that you just want to be able to run the instance or create an instance of that Python version in a virtual environment. So to do that, the easiest way is I can go and click on the View button. You'll see a command palette. This command palette is going to give us a list of different options that you can set up, but you'll see the top one that I have here is Select Python Interpreter. That's because I use it frequently. It may not be the first option for you, so you just go ahead and type in Select Interpreter, and you'll see that you've got kind of three different options. Your terminal will come up for selecting the active terminal, Jupyter for getting a Jupyter environment set up, or in Python, getting your Python environment. So I'm going to select interpreter, and then that gives me an option below to either create a virtual environment or to use one of the different Python versions from a list I have below. Now that list is going to be variable length. If you don't have any Python versions on your machine, it's going to be empty, blank. But if you've got one or more options, they're all going to be listed here. Now you might say, hey, I know for a fact I've got like Python 3.8 or some version, I just don't see it here. If you don't see your Python version listed, that's because you need to add it to your environment path. And so you'd want to pause and go ahead and go through your system variables, specify the path, make sure it's visible to VS Code. But as long as it's on your environment path, you'll see these list of options. Now, if I select any of these, it's not going to create a virtual environment. It's just preloading and saying, hey, run Python with this package and with this version and with all the packages associated with that option of Python. You might think that's a good idea, and if you're doing just projects for yourself, that might be fine. But at any point that you want to transfer that to another person, you're going to want to have just the bare minimum requirements down selected. And that's especially true when you start talking about compiling the code, sending that out into building applications. And so we'll go ahead with creating the virtual environment. So I'll click on the top. You'll see here I've got the option between creating a Conda environment and a Python virtual environment, the .venv versus .conda. Truly, it does not matter which one you choose. Just get familiar with one of them and then focus on being consistent in the way that you work in that virtual environment. So I'm going to go ahead and click venv. And then now it's going back to those list of Python versions that I had. And it's saying, hey, which one do you want to use as your base? I'm a little bit biased towards 3.12 just because some of the packages like GenSim, aren't always up to date. And so, I love the new updates that we made with Python 3.4, but, in some cases, it's nice to hold back a couple versions before so you have maximum flexibility for some of your previous packages that you need to run. So I'm going to select Python 3.12, and then it's going to take a few minutes, but it will create this virtual environment. So if I go to my folder here, you see how basics was empty before, and now it's creating this venv folder. I'll go ahead and pause the video while it's populating this environment. And then once it's populated, I'll show you, what it's done. And from there, we'll go through the process of now adding our specific Python packages that we want. Okay, so you can see this message that says the following environment's been selected. And so if I were to click on the virtual environment folder tree, you can see we've got these different include, lib, scripts, and then a get ignore specification. If I were to click under the scripts, you'll see these are the activation commands or the shells. And so, that's how we can activate the virtual environment. We look at the library. This is going to give you what is the pip version and what are the packages that you have installed. So your pip manager, that process is all contained here. So you'll see on the include, that's blank. And if I were to look on really under the pip, you'll see that you've just got the bare basics here. You don't have much information. You don't have any packages, and that's because in starting your virtual environment, unless you've specified some packages to build with that virtual environment, it's only going to do just your base Python. So with that, we can install our Python packages through one of a couple ways. We can either individually specify through the terminal those packages we want to install, right? And I can go in just for an example and say, pip install pandas or pip install numpy. But what's going to be better and more desirable is to actually create a requirements.txt file. Before we do any of that, though, there's one thing that's really critical to do, and that is to activate your virtual environment. If you don't activate it and you do your installation, all that's going to happen is you are having it run through the default Python that is on your machine and that it has pre-selected. So if you had, we selected 3.12 to create the virtual environment. If it had a default to 3.10 or to 3.12, that's on the machine, then when I do a pip install, it's going to update those packages on the global machine, not specific to this small virtual environment folder that we're working in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And the process is, in here on the terminal, you can type .vnv, so that's the folder path, and then put your slash for scripts, and then activate .ps1. And so if I were to open up that VNV, you can see here, scripts, we're just running through this ps1 command. And that's basically saying, hey, activate this virtual environment. I'm running through here. Therefore, any commands I send through the terminal need to run through this environment. Any package I want to install needs to be installed on this environment locally, not the global environment. So now you'll see once you pass that command, you'll get this green .vnv that shows up, and that's acknowledging that your virtual environment is active. Once I've got the virtual environment set up, now we can finally move on to installing those Python packages. So one way that we can install those Python packages, and generally speaking, really a great way to work with, is creating a requirements file. So I'm going to create requirements.txt, and this file is going to have the specific packages that I might want to install. Now, this is kind of a perfect world scenario where you've got productionized level code, it's all ready, and you can just pull those specific packages from. Oftentimes, you're developing, running in Vivo, and so you need to install on command. Anytime you need to install a Python package, it's fine. You can just go into the terminal and just, again, pass pip install, and then put in your specific Python package, such as NumPy or Pandas. Now, if you know the version that you need to install, you can do an explicit command, such as pip install NumPy Pandas, and then specify, NumPy less than 2, Pandas equals, and then you can put in your specific number like 3.1.2. I don't know that's necessarily a guaranteed version, but just as a dummy example. So to go through setting up the requirements file, I'm just going to copy over a version or a package that I had been working on in the past. So this is a topic modeling file that I've been working on, and it basically goes through a scraping of Reddit data and then gives you what are the major topics in that Reddit community. So we're not going to go through that file specifically, but if I wanted to use it, I would go through and need to install each of these different packages. So again, in a perfect world where you've got your production level code, you can just go through and look at and say, okay, these are the packages I need to have. And then you pull the specific versions. So in the requirement.txt file, we'll go ahead and I can just say, I'm just going to copy paste this. You don't actually import them, just to be clear. But basically what we'll do is, we will specify that each of these are going to be installed. Regex, that's native, so you can ignore that. And then, so in fact, it's probably just easier. I'm just going to delete half of this. So you can see we've got Pandas, NumPy, and LTK. So I'll just do, NumPy, and I specify the version. So this is going to be, if I know the version, I'll put equals equals and then the version. Pandas, same thing. We'll have matplotlib, and we'll also add in scikit-learn. We'll leave at those, four for now, just as the example. And let's say you were curious, and if you knew or had access to that prior environment or your global environment, you can see what Python package version you're working off of or you're using. And so the easy way I can go and check that is if I just tab over to that other directory, I can go through and look at, in this folder, the site packages under lib. And so here, if I go to, I'll just tab over, you can see under the .vnv, I'll look at my site packages, and here you can see that there are many. Now, this is not a productionized environment. There are many packages that are installed. Not all of them are necessary. But I can go through and look at the specific ones, like matplotlib. You can see I've got 3.10.8. We'll specify that here. We've got NumPy, which is going to be 2.3.5. And we've got Pandas 2.3.3. Let's add in the scikit-learn package as well, and then I'll run through the installation. So you can see scikit-learn is 1.8.0. And if I'm going too fast for you, when I'm scrolling down is looking at these folders, and each of these folders will have the specific version. So you can see here scikit-learn 1.8.0 dist.info, or requests, or PIL for Python image library. So back to the requirement.txt file, that is right next to and at the same level as my virtual environment folder and the script folder where I'm going to be working. So I'm going to go ahead and save this file. And now I'm going to pass the pip install command in the terminal with the requirements.txt. And basically what this does is say, hey, install each of these Python or packages with these specific versions. So rather than having to type this a million times, you could easily just have a requirements text file floating around with your project environment, and then someone can quickly just say, oh, I need Python 3.12, and then I just need these packages, and then I'm good, and I've got everything I need to run and work with the project that you have. So we'll go ahead and do that. Just pip install requirements.txt. Getting a little bit ahead of myself, you need to put in a -r. And so that's to say, hey, read this document to pull out the package that you need. And then we'll go ahead and hit run. And you'll see that it's going to install those versions in the virtual environment. Just to reiterate again, if you don't activate the virtual environment first, it's not going to install these packages in the site packages folder. So if I look at lib site packages, here it's populating, but that's very critical and important. So I'm going to pause the video while this installs, and then we're going to come back to this and show that these packages really are installed and that they're functional, and then we'll close the video. All right, so you can see that we've got each of the Python packages installed through this terminal below. If I want, I could scroll through the whole thing and read the message command. If there were any errors, or if it was telling me that I need to upgrade my pip. So if, this is a little messy. It's sometimes can get hard to read. If you need to clear that, just go ahead and type clear, and then that's going to remove the history that I have in this terminal. So now that we've got our packages installed, let's just go ahead and prove that out in just a test case. So I'm going to make a file. This is just going to be dummy.py, and maybe I can spell in a time or two. And in this dummy.py, we're going to import those packages. So we'll import pandas, we'll import numpy, and then matplotlib and scikit-learn. So we're just going to run through a quick test case just to show, hey, each of these packages were installed, they're on the virtual environment, and they run successfully. So I'm going to create just a fake data set. So we'll set x equals to np.linspace. And we'll go from 0 to 100, and we'll give 1,000 points spaced evenly. And then we're going to make a sine wave as our output function with some noise added in. Once we've got that, we'll add it to a data frame. So we'll go ahead and create that, and then we'll split the data frame using test train split from scikit-learn. Again, the only intent is just to show that this is working. So we'll just we'll plot. So let's just plot actually the data. So we'll plot x comma y. And then plt.show. And then we'll also print length of the data. We'll print length of the training data set and length of the test data set. And since we're using a test train split of 20 or 0.2, 20% should be in training data or in test data, 80% should be in training data. So we'll just verify that, and then we'll just show the head. So we'll do print data.head. And we'll let that output, let's say maybe the top 3 rows. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save this script. Obviously, you can either run the Python script on the top right with the run Python file command, or if you're comfortable, you can just pass the command through the Python terminal. And so I'll just type in Python, and this is dummy.py, and I'll hit enter. And so it's going to tell it, hey, execute this script. So the first thing it's going to do is import those packages. That might take a second. If it's running for the first time, it's importing pandas, numpy, matplotlib, and scikit-learn it hasn't seen before. And then it's going to run through each of these commands. You can verify that it's still running because if you try to type something in that terminal window, nothing appears. But here you can see our plot. This is our sinusoidal wave that we have with some noise added to it. If I close out of that window, you can see here we printed the length of our initial data frame. That's 1,000 points. 800 are in train, 200 are in test. And we've got our top 3 rows of data. So just to recap, in this video, we've shown you how to install a virtual environment. We've gone through why it's important, right, for consistency, for reusability, and for transferring from person to person and project to project. So everything is containerized. And so I hope you've enjoyed it. Hope it's been helpful. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments or provide any feedback. And thanks again for joining us at Data Science Labs. Hey, thanks for joining us today on Data Science Labs. I hope you found this content helpful, informative, and fun. If you have, go ahead and like the video and subscribe to our channel. If you're looking for future videos for data science, whether that's getting started with the basics or going into in-depth analysis. If you want one-on-one coaching or you're interested in getting consulting support with your business or nonprofit, go ahead and reach out at our email. That's info@envirolytica.com. You can also see it on our YouTube channel. So go ahead, like and subscribe. I hope you found this helpful and have a wonderful day.